Hi, this is Mark Soden Jr. I'm here with Stephen Anderson, and we're talking about Santa Ana Noise Fest 13.
Sure, I'm Steven Anderson, and as it's Santa Ana Noise Fest, and I'm actually in Santa Ana. So go figure.
All right, well, what led you to experiment with noise?
It's interesting. It was being part of OCA, Orange, which is Orange County Center for Contemporary Art, and just trying to do other things in that space. And one thing was like some experimental noise groups. Like I knew a couple of people that did it. So kind of the first thing we kind of did was do a live score with Metropolis, and it was with between Ravens and Crows. You probably remember Kirk and Jerry. So
Mm-hmm.
back in the day, and so they scored it, and it was just like mind blowing because they had the famous string instrument.
Mm-hmm.
It's this kind of found instruments, kind of like a Stringy new button kind of a deal. But it was brilliant, and it was just like wow. It got it's like wow, you can do great sound and music without having to know a guitar or the typical things like just pedal effects and stuff. So just kind of going with experimental and getting those people in and groups like that's how we kind of met Stephen Antonio, who's kind of it was a noise guy, local guy, and he kind of brought it like, oh, noise is a thing. For me, I didn't even know there was like a genre. So he said, yeah, we should put together some noise thing fest. It could be an annual thing or whatever. I'm like, yeah, sweet, this is be awesome. So that's how it kind of led into the first one,
Mm-hmm.
which was kind of just a cacophony of 10 or so groups all playing at once. It was crazy. It was kind of like there's even two openers. It was like we were doing like, you know, 3-act shows. And so the headlining was kind of Noise Fest 1, which was just here's a bunch of people all together on just doing improv noise, really.
I I think there were more people in the room than just 10. As I
In
recollect,
the in the yeah, even in the setup, yeah, there was yeah, at least probably 15, 20 maybe in just the amount of performers.
mm-hmm. And that was in 2008.
It's way back then, yeah. It was funny because it was, we had the roll up doors in the gallery and it was open and it was just this noise. And people were walking by just going, looking at like, what's going on in there? It was just a trippy scene. I mean, it was even so like even my friend was like trying to film video and it would just shut off the video. It was just the level and reverb just destroyed audio and video recordings.
The next year, as I recollect, there was you were setting people up all the way around the outside of the gallery. They were kind of because I it might have been the
Yeah,
third year.
maybe I
What?
think this. Yeah, I think the second was more, regular setup, go, setup, go, and and Stephen and Tony, he was kind of part of it, but it got like just crazy disorganized and sets were just people not showing up at the right time, and so it got a little nutty. So I think then the third one was like just have everybody set up and you kind of go around and even that again that was kind of chaos, and it wasn't really until you guys kind of alerted like do you need help and kind of came on board and went to the modern thing of having done in 3 bands set up at a time, tear down, little break, and then another 3, and then that was just that went so smooth. It was like clockwork going down.
Well, I remember that day. I remember coming in and I had my stuff, and you were on a ladder aiming lights, and every single other person it was in a band or a performer. and no one was helping. It was like, wow, he's doing everything. And that's when I said, do you need some help?
Yeah.
Because um, it was obviously a one man operation at that point.
Yeah, it became, I mean, unfortunately, he said Steven kind of drifted out, and I haven't heard from him, after maybe the, third, fourth one. And then, Jerry would help a little, but they kind of all went. So it's kind of like left, to my own devices. And, we just had our, little mixing board and house speakers. So when you came on board and you had, way more expertise and setup and gear and speakers, just
The expertise doesn't come from nowhere. And some of my history was being the stage manager and sound man at a somewhat famous punk club called the Cuckoo's Nest. So dealing with immense egos and nonlinear personalities was kind of part of the job.
yeah, yeah. So
But it
yeah.
would also gain you things like death threats and other stuff.
Okay, well, yeah,
But I was the evil sound man. What was I to do? You know?
really, yeah. And that's what's so interesting with noise. It's like everybody is really nice and cool, but because I think they take it all out in the genre and expression, and then afterwards they can be doing this insane, crazy screaming on that, and then that's, hey, how was I? Like real, you're like, wait a minute, you're the same person. So I think
Yeah,
funny that
yeah.
you said the punk death threats noise. Hey,
They are congenial. People tend to, at the noise shows, they're very supportive and tend to get along pretty well, as opposed to when you had rock and roll egos and
right, exactly, and
stuff going on. As things went along through the years, we had some other issues. We had one performer that thought that it was a good idea to invite all of their friends to come down like it was an open party.
yeah, yeah,
And
that
they brought, big boxes of 24 beers and they showed up with boom boxes.
yeah, you're like you don't know what you're coming to. You're not a noise fan. You're just like,
You
sweet.
are
There's a
clearly in the wrong place.
yeah. When you're telling people to please be quiet, we're trying to listen to the noise. Something's not right.
Yeah, that was great. I remember that. That guy was really loud.
Go figure.
That was, and then we had to mitigate that a little bit for a few years with charging and tickets and stuff. But
Kind of
it's
like
kind of calmed down a little bit lately.
yeah, I think now it's true. It's pretty much the diehards and the people that kind of know what it's about and getting into it. You're not going to get too many off the street people just kind of coming in. If they do,
Well,
they might stay a while and then leave in between.
well, that's okay. I'm all right with people, getting what they need and then moving on. That's fine. You
And
know,
and I think that goes with how people are continuing. We know it's not for everybody, so you don't have the big ego. You're not going to be playing at arenas and
yeah,
stadiums.
no, yeah. Nike will not be sponsoring
Yeah.
you.
But which is cool though is how you can notice in like Radiohead for instance that they do have noise instances, and so there is bits getting into more popular music, just not a full on barrage.
Well,
Is
it's really apparent in the pop world. I mean, they have all kinds of gibberish going on,
it's
under
yeah.
those vocals.
Well, yeah, yeah. It's just not for prolonged. You-
No, it's not what we're dishing up.
yeah,
No, it's
I
that's
think
kind
you don't want to get to that level. Then you probably it's no longer its own genre.
it reminds me of intramural sports where nobody's going to be a star. They just do it because they love it and they're here to be a part of what everyone else is coming together to do. And I think that is a beautiful thing.
It's pure. I mean, it's pure. It's art. It's pure art expression. You know, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to know how to play guitar, guitar or anything. You just, it's sound. It's collage. Really, I look at it as an artist. I look at it as, you're really collaging music, and then to know like the history that it goes back further than you would think.
Oh, oh, a 100 years to the, you know, Rousselot and his whole thing. Yeah, they were making devices that would make noises, and then trying to figure it out. And his brother um, was trying to make 20s style pop music
Huh.
out of using the groaning and wheezing devices that his brother was using. And it's just like, you know, boop boopy doo with it's just it's an interesting mishmash, and I think there's a teachable moment there where the noises themselves are kind of timeless because they're beyond style. But when you start trying to take current aesthetics on top of that, it's like it's dated. It's it's a timestamp.
You can, yeah, you can probably listen to it any noise tape 50 years from now, and it'll be like it came out today or 50 years ago. You probably you wouldn't know unless there's some new crazy instrument made. But yeah, it's pretty timeless in that sense.
It's so interesting. It's so inventive the way that they stack up their pedals, or some are taking feeds off of media and things like that, and you start building this texture different ways, and everybody's got their own trip on how they build that texture and what they're looking for. And of course, it is kind of cheerful to see the anger management people working out their demons on stage. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. Do you have a piece of gear that you were particularly enamored with and you find inspiring and would like to tell us about?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's theremin. Just always seeing it and admiring it for the creativity of it. And I think it wasn't until doing these shows and experiment shows to even think, oh wow, maybe I should try it, in a sense. So, you know, that's what was inspiring. I mean, I was just inspired by the experimenting and all that, and then trying to do that as an artist, able to experiment with just making some sounds. Like it kind of freed me up thinking, because I did the whole thing like everybody does. I get the guitar and I had to try to learn it, and I just nothing was there happening. So kind of set all music, any type of music aside, and it wasn't until kind of just like kind of that between Raven and Crows, and just like he could play on the springs with it. I'm like, wow, you can just make stuff with springs and a guitar pedal effect. And so it just kind of opened up that whole, took away that, what do you call it? Anxiety of like, oh, you got to be a musician to even approach anything.
Texture is always there. I mean, from hitting two rocks together, that's a texture, you know. It's always there.
It's true.
So, what is the noise scene like in your area? Santa Ana, home of the Noise Festival.
Yeah, it's what's great is like, yeah, it was, who knows, and when we started it, it would attract, and it did, and it did nothing but grow, and even get some write-ups, OC Weekly, which is no longer, but they did several write-ups. And I think because it's just, again, it's unique, original, and different. And there's not many places to go to to listen to this. It's really kind of off the map. So you kind of create your own space and bring it to you, and they will come, kind of a thing. And it's got pretty popular.
And it does attract people from a variety of locales in southern and northern California come in to do
Well,
this.
yeah,
So
especially when we did, when we had to go, virtual last time and put out a kind of an international call, and just to see how wide we got people from, all over the globe. So that's was even more inspiring of just, it is legit genre practiced all over the place, just festivals everywhere. I think now with, Zoom and all that, you can kind of go to these locales, and you have like a commonality with everybody.
what's the future for the Santa Ana Noise Fest?
But I think, I mean, hopefully we get back in person, you know, soon, and it'd be like kind of a reunion because we probably haven't seen a lot of people in
Yeah,
2 years.
it will definitely be a reunion.
So it'd be like, it'd probably be a big fest, and maybe we can go back and start it as the first one and just have a big, everybody set up and just do a big sound wall.
That was that was pretty special. And there was the year that we had the jam after all the sets
Oh
were
yeah,
over
that's right. Yeah, if you stay by,
with Brutal Poodle and you and me and
that
not
was
not many other people. It
right.
was
That was awesome. Just like a little side jam. And yeah, and then that kind of led to a show like when I had me and Kiwi, another artist, we had the drone show.
oh, the drone show was great.
We did a drone circle. So just have people bring whatever and then set up in a circle. And God, that was like a solid like 3 hours. People just kind of go in and out. And some people stayed the whole deal. And
So the drone thing is not to be underestimated. But
no,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, and you can tie it in with, chanting and monks, and it's just this resonating,
yeah.
gets, otherworldly.
Well, it's amazing what people do when they have a common focus for a long period of time. And droning is exactly that. But I think that pretty much covers all of it. Do you have any other stories from Santa Ana Noise Fest you'd like to recount?
Yeah, I mean, like always, but we always appreciate, we can't miss the noise cake. The noise cake that you
Yes, for the
you'll
people who have not seen it, every year we have a cake. I bake a cake for the Santa Ana Noise Fest. And I will do that again this year, but it will be a virtual cake
yeah,
and only my dog, my wife, and I will enjoy it.
yeah.
And so,
But I just, appreciate what you brought to it, and it's just something fun. What else you got to do in life? You got to bring some fun and entertainment. So it's a great ride. Hopefully it'll just keep continuing, and
well, there's no plan to stop.
right, we'll be virtual. I mean, not virtual next time, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So, on that happy note, this is Mark Soden for Santa Ana Noise Fest 13. I'm here with Stephen Anderson. Thank you again, Stephen, for having the idea to start the Santa Ana Noise Fest.
Thank you.
That's you're the one that was the ignition of the torch. So that's amazing.
Keep it going. It's like that.
Yep.
Can't let that torch go.
On that happy note, have a good evening.